Most earthlings try very hard to be recognized for what they do, but when they become stars, sir, they realize they're recognized wherever they go. You have responsibilities, anxieties, and, well, to be honest, sir, some of them can't take it.
Was instant stardom like that and instant fame like that disorienting?
Very. It's like being taken from the bottom of Death Valley to the top of the Empire State Building in 2 seconds. It's totally disorienting. To be from, you know, just performing in the Comedy Store, small clubs, and all of a sudden have everybody know you. And that happened. And that was instantaneous. And that, it's a little frightening, too. I mean, you know, people, if you're kind of shy, and sometimes I get kind of like this, that they, you know, people would, they just look at you.
Cocaine, what a wonderful drug. Anything that makes you paranoid and impotent, give me more of that.
One of the great triumphs of your life was the way you beat drugs. But do you think that getting into them was the effect of success or just the atmosphere of the 70s, late 80s?
I mean, success was one. It was like the old joke. Do you have a drug problem? No, everybody had it. It was a great way of kind of avoiding contact. And then you get into this kind of, you want to pull back from it rather than experience it because it's frightening and you're trying to find some way to pull away. I think it was escaping from people, basically. It's, you know, just, you know, from those people going, hey.
When you're a celebrity, everybody wants a piece of you, sir. Unless you can say no, there'll be no pieces left for yourself.
Sometimes it was the fear of failure. It was that thing of, you know, if you didn't notice, you wouldn't, because it was coming so fast, it was that fear, when's it going to go? Rather than just keep, you know, finding and doing different things. Cocaine actually made me almost not sleepy, but would just shut me down. I would get like this. And I think that's why I did it. So I wouldn't have to experience.
So it was cutting off from people, as you said.
It was isolating. It was, and then years later after I stopped, when I see people, they're actually going, you just made eye contact. How you doing? Because most of the time you didn't have to. It was a great chance not to look at people. It was, you know, this. I couldn't see anymore. It's because, once again, it's the brain. The brain, once it tastes it, will want to go back up to the same level. Will demand that because it's psychologically addicting. They found that out.
And how long did it take you to feel that sense of liberation that you mentioned Richard Pryor felt?
It took you about a year. Someone said you're liberated when you don't talk about it, when you don't mention, you don't have to say anything, when it doesn't appear in your subconscious, when it's just gone. Something very freeing about having your mind back and in your control. The ideas that you find will get you the same kind of stimulus. And then what other things happen is you start to relate to people again. And as you come back into the world and relate to them, they're stimulating and realizing that can be quite wonderful. Conversations with friends, you know, playing with your child. You know, all of these things can be just as stimulating and wonderfully so and nourishing. And then all of a sudden you start to come back. It's just a process of that, you know, building that in again.
You treat a disease, you win, you lose. You treat a person, I guarantee you'll win no matter what the outcome.
But providing a security of acknowledging who I am and saying, I love that. I love what you are. Don't be afraid. And it's like, oh, then that frees you up. You really do? Me? I used to talk about myself. I used to have this image that I was kind of like this, almost like a dwarf, because I'd been called that in school. I was like this little short, furry guy. And then I said, I love that. Really? But that's been the process, and it's so wonderful, and it's growing. And you learn and you go through, and it's been tough. And the way that all of Oliver's work is, he makes you examine these supposedly negative and horrifying things from another perspective and say, yes, these are, you know, there is great pain in aspects to that, but he also says, look at the power of the human spirit, and more than just the spirit, the power of the mind, and distinguishing between the mind and the brain. Some people say that the brain is a computer, but he said, no, beyond that, there is something, there is deity within you. There is that, you know, that spark, that divine thing, and it stems from creation, that thing that is soul.
There's been no movie that I've walked away from, even the ones that didn't do well, where you don't go, I learned a lot. You know,
what about Dead Poet Society with,
oh my God,
with Peter Weir?
One of the greatest experiences. It was incredible. It was the true learning experience, because Peter's more than a director, he's a teacher. I don't know anybody who's worked with him that comes away going, well, that was nice. You come away a different person. He infuses you, like when we were doing that movie, he gave us poetry, he gave us music, he played music during takes. That would just get you into this incredible spirit and very inspiring. I remember when the boys stood on their desk, I was going, this is very powerful. And I looked over and I saw a Teamster crying, and I went, okay, this is really working. But it was this inspirational movie where It's the first time I did a film where people were touched beyond the movie, where they want to change their lives. And I hope for the better. Many people said they became teachers. I went, oh, good luck. Especially picking that profession in America where you know that's going to be really, you have to be dedicated to be that.
Done with Peter Weir, who was an amazing director.
Did you tone yourself down a bit for that? He was not as off the wall as you.
Yeah, but he said basically that, you know, there's no need. Man lives, just let his ideas speak for that and commit to the ideas. He was the one that said, just because you say action, you don't necessarily have to act, you know, which is great. It's a very freeing thing to say, just be in it. And that's great. It was wonderful.
In The Fisher King, Robin plays a man who becomes catatonic after witnessing his wife's death. It's a difficult film to break down due to the many complex layers it possesses. Even Robin has a hard time explaining the meaning of the film, although his words will do much more justice than mine.
They have toys that do everything for them so they don't have to create it. I mean, they have interactive toys. They have the ones that, good morning, how are you? I'm always frightened that those interactive ones, you're going to wake up one day and have a little knife going, I don't like Daddy. These are the things you have to remember that. Even video games, you know. I play them with my son, but it seems like everything is done for you. You don't have to imagine it. There's also a dangerous thing because you tend to just be focused on the game and you won't relate to each other. You just be like this.
In the cartoon Fern Gully, he raises awareness for the Australian rainforest. He also relates to American forests in this interview.
I mean, I did that cartoon, Fern Gully, which was trying to just make a point, just to try and, you know, teach a little awareness on that level.
This was an Australian setting.
Yeah, it was on the Australian rainforests, which you're losing at a rapid rate, and so are we. Everyone, they're cutting them down. In America, I mean, everyone talks about the Amazonian rainforest, but America has lost more of their old-growth, incredible woods than any place.
He said if you really listen with intent, you can be quite powerful. And it was that it took so much pressure off of thinking, I've got to be ready to say the next thing. And it was just this idea of inhabiting that just as much as speaking. It was a great gift.